Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is our Simple Abundance year, and this is me, Carolyn, on location in my car again for the second time this year. I was thinking back to January when I made that video in the car about creative excursions, and remember how paranoid I was about the fact that I was doing a video in my car, and look at the world that we have now where I could be on a business Zoom call for all anybody knows, right? So I'm not worried about it. And I tried to pick a spot that I didn't think would be very loud, but now I have people going by me over and over in the background. Anyway, I had to vacate my place because the people moving in were coming to see it actually for the first time. They had actually already rented it without seeing it yet, and they are coming today. So I had to get out. So I brought the book with me while I'm killing time till I can go back there. And I thought I'd check in with you guys about a couple of the recent September entries. Sarah's talking to us today on September 10th, if you're watching this live. This is our journey through Sarah von Braunick's book, Simple Abundance, by the way. I didn't say that. On September 10th, her entry is called The Great Acceleration. And when I saw that, I was thinking of so many different things because I am seeing a lot of things, mostly on the internet, but, from spiritual leaders and those who are really tapped in and talking about how there is so much acceleration going on right now in terms of change. And I mentioned the word ascension in a video not too long ago. And just that all the stuff that's happening right now is just going so quickly, and we may be having ascension symptoms, if you will, because stuff is going so quickly, but it's like we're trying to catch up. So I was even hearing that people might be having physical issues. That could be any time, right? But related to this. So anyway, but what Sarah is talking about as far as the Great Acceleration is probably, when you think about how this book was written back in the 90s, from then until now, think about how quickly communication has accelerated, right? So we had email back then, and we had phones, but now there's the instant communication on multiple platforms, right? And then the news is very instant. It's like somebody has a camera with them and something happens live and then you hear about it. Whereas years ago, you would have to wait until the news was on, right? Or it came out in the newspaper. So she's lamenting, and I can understand this. She's a writer and she loves books. She shared that with us. And she's lamenting that people don't read anymore. They might go on the internet and read something. I do a lot of audiobooks, like I told you, and then I also like YouTube videos and things like that I can find on streaming services. And I heard something a few years ago that the average person now is reading maybe one book a year, and that is pretty bad, right? Because she makes a really good point. This is what I wanted to read to you guys. Just as our health and well-being, mental and physical, are nourished, preserved, and expanded by what we eat, so are our brains nourished by what feeds our imagination, emotions, and creativity. These soul sources need preservation. And then she's talking about how we've really become activists about saving the earth, and then we need to save what she calls the word, just as much. So one of the blessings of the internet is that we have much information and knowledge now available to all of us. It's not that important and life-changing. It's not that important and life-changing books aren't being written, but what's being read. And she says, I've shared my belief that the authentic self is the soul made visible, but only you can make sure that she's a soul survivor. So that's sort of Sarah's, a prod to all of us to try to preserve the word and really think about what we're giving our attention to and what we're feeding our brains, just like she said about the food. You know, what do we have around us? Is it positive for us? Like, is it uplifting? Is it stuff that incites creativity and emotion, right? We talked about movies and how you can experience things through watching those stories. But what about books? I know some people just don't like to read, and honestly, I don't like to read a physical book. Like, I think it's probably because I had my vision test about 6 years ago, and while I only really wear readers, I don't need a prescription. And well, actually, my vision's getting worse, so I probably do need a prescription at this point. But the doctor said that my eyes were not working together. You know, like one was trying to take over, and so I connected a lot of stuff to that because, first of all, he told me I don't really have very good depth perception either. So he just said that as I would be reading, or even like, I was really good at sports growing up until about 8th grade, and then puberty hit and forget it. I couldn't even catch a ball, you know. And who knows if that's like when my eyes had a change. But anyway, I think the thing with the reading is that, and this is how I've always felt when I'm reading, and you guys can even tell when I'm reading out loud, I'm struggling so much to think about what each word is that I don't get lost in the story like I do with an audiobook. With an audiobook, I'm just like so riveted, I can't stop listening, you know. But and my sister loves to read, so she would be the same way. Like, she could stay up all night and read a book. So she feels that way about the reading. But my brain, I think, as I'm reading, it's just, I'm a slow reader and I stumble over it even when I'm saying it out loud. So, but I do love my books and my audio books. I use the Overdrive app from the library. You guys probably have that wherever you live. It's usually free from your library. So you can't read every single book out there. It's not like Audible, but you can get, I haven't had an issue getting the books that I want to read. Sometimes you're on a wait list for them. And sometimes all of a sudden, like 3 are available at the same time. That happens to me a lot, where all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, I have to finish this book because I can't wait to read the other one. But even if it's not books, hopefully you can think about what you're actually giving your attention to and feeding your brain. You know, even if it's YouTube videos or movies, shows, things like that you're watching, hopefully you can think about those things being nourishing. And hopefully books won't be entirely gone, right? She does go on, I'm going to skip ahead to another day that I thought that connected to this. Where is it? I thought it was like 2 days from now. It's about how you only have an 8 second where is it? An 8 second attention span. Wait a minute. Is it one that right there. You now have a shorter attention span than a goldfish. Like, so that's another thing about the way the world has been accelerating. We just don't have attention spans anymore, right? Because everything is just like go, 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 and instant. I think if you went and lived out on a farm or in the woods or something for a long time, that it would be a different experience. Like, say you were totally cut off. I bet it would take a while, but I bet you would slow down, and then you'd start to get more used to that pace. Yeah, according to Time magazine, a Microsoft study determined that people now lose their concentration or ability to focus after 8 seconds, down from 12 seconds in 2000. Now, my past work was about advertising, and in that case, I remember that you only had about 10 seconds to get somebody's attention with an ad. But now that it's 8, it's probably even more difficult to get somebody's attention. And a goldfish has 9 seconds. So we now have a shorter attention span than a goldfish. Hold that thought, she says. Whether it's smartphone, tablet, computer, video games, the cloud, free Wi-Fi, and hotspots, As the number of digital services grow, so too are new ways created to catch our attention. Yeah. She's quoting Dexter Palmer, who wrote a beautiful book called The Dream of Perpetual Motion. This is what Dexter said. There are no new stories in the world anymore, and no more storytellers. There is nothing left but fragments of phrases that signaled their telling. Once upon a time, why, and then the end. But these fragments of phrases have lost their meanings through endless repetition, like everything else in this modern mechanical world. What do you guys think about that? I think there's a lot of stories to be told. I think about cinematographers who come up with their own stories. Like, maybe there are not great... Well, no, I still think there's great novels. There's so much creativity. These days we seek our pleasures out in single moments, as if we have no desire to connect the future to the past. Stories, we have no time for them. We have no patience. Those are Dexter's words again. That's interesting. I mean, think about, we talked about Rumpelstiltskin, and I talked a bit about books and stuff already, but think about back to like native times where the excitement of the day was probably hearing the stories, or even if it was stories that you'd heard before. That's all about human interaction, is to have stories, for sure. A world without stories. We can't let that happen, she says. On the brighter side, we've dramatically increased our multitasking skills. Yeah. Gratitude, find what we can. So I thought those two went well together, because I think if you don't have an attention span, then how are you going to read a book? So how do we change that? Some people are so addicted to devices. I've told you that I'm really not. I'm just so not a phone person at all. In fact, I've been in several situations recently, like going and waiting for a doctor's appointment or something, and I'm the only one in the doctor's office that's just sitting there. Like, everybody else is on some kind of a device. Like, they can't even for 2 seconds just, like, sit, breathe, look around. Like, maybe, well, you can't smile at anybody right now because you're in a mask, but, yeah. I don't really have the advice because it's not really my thing, but I know it can become an addiction almost, and they do say, even for the younger generations especially, that it's like they're becoming like hypersensitive to like the noises, and they need that instant gratification. Like, you put something out there and then people have to reply or comment or something, and then you're sort of gauging your worth off of those things. Like, I'm so glad I didn't grow up in that generation, because I was thinking actually just earlier today about when I was in college even, which was in the early 90s, we were writing letters to each other over the summer. I was just thinking about summers lately because I saw the kids were back at school today. And so, I don't know. I'm glad that I grew up when I did. I think the internet didn't really hit until my senior year of college, and then it was something that was very slow, and I don't know, it wasn't like people carried around a little computer with them for, I mean, they have in the last maybe 10, 15 years, but I'm just not totally connected, and I've told you guys that before, but I'm okay with that. I know it's really a foreign concept, but I like my books. I guess I'm just sort of nerdy like that, but hope you guys like some books too, and that you can help to keep books alive. There's a lot of initiatives out there, and you know, you can donate to your library, book sales, things like that. Think about ways that you can save the word. Hope you're having a great day. I will see you on the next video. Thanks for watching, and definitely leave me a comment. I love reading them and really look forward to your feedback. So I will see you guys soon. Bye-bye.